Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stand. Ten Hag has been sacked by Manchester United. I was literally getting a coffee from the morning show and it is over. I'm absolutely gutted. What a horrible decision. Ineos out. I'm joking, of course. Look, this is football. It's sad, but actually I'm very glad that last night I sort of accepted it because I think it's just time. You can defy it. As I said, I think whether you've been Ten Hag out for months or whether you've just accepted it in the last 24 hours, I think everybody's on the same page that it just couldn't continue in this situation. This feeling of depression, this feeling that the club wasn't going anywhere. I think there's multiple things for us to talk about. I think you could start to argue that certain players now surely have to be looked at as how many managers have they actually played for and played consistently bad for, but it's always going to be the manager that gets sacked. You can't sack Marcus Rashford, you can't sack Bruno Fernandes, you can't sack Casemiro, you can't sack Harry Maguire, you can't sack Johnny Evans, and I'm just throwing random names there. You can't sack Garnacho. You sack the manager. That's the way it's always going to be. There is a club statement that's come out. I'm just going to read that. But I think the first person I'm going to shout out is that obviously Romano hinted at it, but I think it was David Ornstein who had it, that Manchester United have sacked Erik Ten Hag. He's been informed this morning, and Ruud van Nistelrooy will be the interim coach, which actually raises an interesting question from what we're talking about this morning. I do not think that is a good idea long term. We are writing off the season under Ruud van Nistelrooy. It's weird. It's really weird, isn't it? But look, this is the statement from Manchester United. Erik Ten Hag has left his role as Manchester United's men's first team manager. We are grateful to Erik for everything he's done during his time with us. Wish him well for the future. Ruud van Nistelrooy will take charge as interim coach, supported by the current coaching team, whilst a permanent head coach is recruited. That makes me feel like that's a short-term fix with Ruud van Nistelrooy. Remember, we've been in that position before with Ryan Giggs, with Michael Carrick. I don't think in October, this is the first, can I just say as well, breaking news, this is the earliest Manchester United have ever sacked a manager in a season. Like, Ron Atkinson lasted longer than this. I'm talking about his job at Man United. Also, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Mourinho, they went November, December. So it is the earliest role. Millsy says, do we read anything to the fact that he's left his role? I don't know. I mean, ultimately, as fans, we can dissect. I think it would be remiss and wrong not to say thank you to Erik Ten Hag for the 2 trophies. Ultimately, a few sentences about what I think about Ten Hag. Look, when Mourinho went, I felt it was the right decision. And when Ten Hag has gone, I think it's the right time. Time has been very good on Jose because Man United have not recovered, really. If Man United sack Ten Hag and go on to better things, then maybe time will be kinder on Ten Hag because we'll be happier and we'll go, look, he played his part, we won 2 trophies. If United long-term get worse, then time will be even kinder on Erik Ten Hag. Will his legacy be that it was, a bad ownership and bad players that cost him his job? Or will his legacy be that, he wasn't quite good enough? And I think the truth at the moment is that you would combine all of those things. It was time to go. I mean, look, I accept it. I don't even feel as sad as how I feel. And I would ask you, how I feel is the same way I felt after Spurs in the international break. Sorry, after Villa after the international break. I felt like it's a weight lifted. I think doing this on this community, but also the wider Man United fan base, it's been so bad and so toxic, and it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't be as angry and abusive towards each other as it has been. So I think something had to change, and the results weren't changing. They weren't offering any optimism or hope. So the club has to drive that. Ultimately, every mood around this fan base is dictated to by players, managers, and the owners, and the results on the pitch. And it's just not been good enough. And the fan base has bore the brunt of that. And ultimately, whether you wanted him to go or you didn't or whatever, have you been happy over the last few weeks? No. And it's got to a point where it's like, all right, it's a Michael Oliver VAR decision and we should have put the ball in the back of the net. And some people might look at it and go, so you're telling me if Delot scores that goal and we win that game, he doesn't get sacked? No, he wouldn't have been sacked. He wouldn't. If we'd have won yesterday, he wouldn't have been sacked, but we lost. So you can't look at it as one game. It's not because Delot didn't score. If he'd beat West Ham, he would have carried on. But we're 14th in the league after 9 games. This has been going on for a long time. So I think fair play to Ineos that they've acted that quick. They have to act quick. They've got to act even quicker now. The Ten Hag era is over. They've now got to show us what the new era is, because what the new era cannot be is Erik Ten Hag and Manchester United. Sorry, what the new era cannot be is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I don't mean Ole, I mean that era. Ruud comes in, we win a couple of games, and the fans have a responsibility here as well. Like, what I do not want to do, and I'm responsible as well, is I do not want us to see win the next 3 games and then everyone go Ruud's at the wheel. Like, we've been down that road before. It cannot be Ruud van Nistelrooy as Man United's saviour. It can't. A new manager with a new manager bounce, with these same players, we've been here before. We can't do that again. So I would hope that this club completely and utterly ignores what happens with Van Nistelrooy and moves very, very quickly to make a change. If I was Manchester United now, in fact, I would demand it. I would be on the phone to Nagelsmann. I would be on the phone to Amorim. I would even be on the phone to Emery. I mean, look, I'm not disrespecting Germany, Sporting or Aston Villa. I would be on the phone to those managers just to see. Ange, if you want, whoever. Ancelotti. I'd be on the phone to every single one of them. And and if they go, look, no, it's not for me, the phone goes down. But one of them might just go, you know what? I actually want that job. That's what they need to be doing now. What they can't do is, we've got rid of Ten Hag and we're just going to stick with Ruud till the summer and see what's about. You've got to go on the front foot. And they've gone on the front foot this morning, I think. They've made the decision. I don't think that they were wrong to stick with him in the summer, and I don't think they were wrong to stick with him in the international break. Remember, they've broken the record for sacking a Man United manager this early. We've never sacked a manager in October. So I think they've given the opportunity, they've given the time. Some would say they've given him the rope to hang himself in relation to his managerial career at Manchester United. But I think you've got to take everybody with you, haven't you? And yes, the media have played a big part in their anti-Ten Hagism probably from day one. But more importantly, there's been a movement of Ten Hag out from the fan base for quite a while. But it wasn't a majority. And I think that over recent weeks, you've got to a point now where there isn't going to be a United fan out there this morning going, that's a mistake. And it gets to a point where I was last night on the show where I said, enough is enough. Like, they've got to make a change. And the only change they can really make is to sit the manager down and say, pick Agate, put Ahmad on the wing and tell him what to do, which you can't do that. So you've really got to say it's over. And I think that the fact that they've done it really, really quickly, they had to do it in today or tomorrow, is the right thing. I'm very interested to see what they're going to do next. I think there's going to be so much news, but I want a momentum here. They've gone out and got Barada from Man City. They've gone out and got Ashworth from Newcastle. They've gone out and got Wilcox from Southampton. They've got Favell in. They've brought people in from other places. Now, the biggest appointment is going to be what you can do with the manager, because it cannot, for me, and I'm behind Ruud, I back Ruud, I don't dislike Ruud, but it can't be Ruud van Nistelrooy. You can't take a guy who had 1 season at PSV just because he was an ex-Man United player and give him this job because he has a good start. We've done it with Solskjaer, and it was the biggest mistake we made, giving him a 3-year deal. We know that this team's capable of bouncing back, but as a fan base, we mustn't fall for it. As I said last night, if we go and beat Chelsea 3-0 next Sunday playing brilliant football, I'll be fuming. I'll be fuming with these players that can switch it on and off. We need to restructure this whole football club. There are certain players that obviously need to be removed, and they have to be removed. And now the next managerial appointment has got to be elite, and it's got to be longer term. They gave Erik Ten Hag time, and it wasn't their guy. So they've got to pick the right guy, and they've got to go for the right length of time. And there's only so many managers I think can work there. And if you look at every other club in the Premier League that's successful at the moment, and I know it's a short period of time for Liverpool, but Arne Slot looks like he's a project manager for Liverpool that suits what they want to do, chosen by them. Aston Villa with Emery, it's been 2 years of relentless success, chosen by them, where everybody's on the same page. You can also say that that Brighton have had that going on for years, where they bring right people in that are on the same page as them and they work towards a common goal. Arsenal with Arteta brought their guy in. Many people compared Ten Hag to Arteta and said, well, look, it wasn't going well, give him time. It's the same as comparing Ten Hag to Sir Alex Ferguson. That was 1989, and that was the owner's man. The big thing about the Arteta argument, when you deep it down, is that Arsenal chose Arteta. Manchester United chose Sir Alex Ferguson. Ineos didn't choose Ten Hag. They now have to choose their Arteta, their Sir Alex Ferguson, their Emery, and it's got to be somebody that excites and ignites this fan base. For me, I'd be on the phone to Nagelsmann. I think I said that back in April when I didn't want Ten Hag to get sacked. That's the only one that sort of gave me any excitement. And that's what the fan base needs. We need excitement. The season's probably fucked, if I'm being honest. We're not going to get top 4, but we could still win the Europa League. So you've got to bring somebody in. To me, it's not a bad time to do it, because the fan base now, the great thing about now, if you're looking for a positive, if you're feeling a bit lost, is that whatever's been going on is over. That bad feeling that's been, occupying your mind or frustrating you, however long it's been there, it's gone. I said this in the international break. If they sack Ten Hag in the international break, at least that argument's gone. At least we're not waking up every morning to some twat on TalkSport or Sky going absolutely mad about some bullshit, talking about Man United. At least in the live chat, it's not just, get this bold fraud out and everything like that. That's gone. It's over. So are we not all on the same page now? We dream the same dream. We want the same thing. So there is a relief. There is a relief. There's probably a relief for Erik Ten Hag, off to Centre Parks with 17 million, He'll get another job, and I wish him all the best. I wish him all the best. I hope he goes off and does really, really well. I don't think it's about proving Man United wrong, because I think he's been given enough chances at Manchester United. But I think that there is a relief. Now we need to move on. That's what Manchester United need to do. Will Braze is in the background mumbling Southgate. That's what can't happen, because things can go worse. But that's a very good point. We all want to believe an optimism point, don't we? We all want to believe there is a better. There is something better. But what about if there's something worse? That can't happen. Look, I'll be honest with you. There's been times if they'd sacked Ten Hag in May, I would have been fuming. I'm absolutely content. I'm not. I said it last night. I have accepted this situation is not good enough. And when you actually analyse it, and I got a great email from Peter last night, who sort of had gone through all my match reactions and said, you know what? Your conscience is clear. You've absolutely backed this manager and backed this team. But when you look at your match reactions, you said against Fulham we're a bit lucky. You said against Southampton, if they'd scored that penalty, we would have lost. All the lost games as well. 14th is where we are. That's what we are. So things had to change, and there is that element of relief now that we're not stuck in this rotational cycle of just in, out, shake it all about. So, but that's not it. We're back at the bottom of the mountain again, aren't we? That's the sad thing. Whatever, just have a sip of coffee here. Whatever journey we were on with Ten Hag is over. That mountain that we keep climbing and falling down. Rio. How many? Piss off. We've got 53,000 here. Make sure you keep sharing the video. Thanks everyone for watching. Get your comments in. I'm going to read them all at the moment. But no, you know what? We're at the bottom of the mountain again now. We've climbed that mountain a few times, not to the top. If you think about Jose, Europa League and second place, and then he falls down. You think about Ollie, second place, and then he falls down. You think about Ten Hag, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and he falls down. We're at the base of the mountain again. For all that vocality, I think United fans need a call to action here. I actually think we need to realise we're back at ground zero again. Yes, there is that sense of relief that we're not having this argument about the manager anymore, but let's have a reality bite. We're now back. This is embarrassing. As much as there's a sense of relief, we're back at the bottom of the mountain again. All that money spent on the summer. What happens with Onana? Onana is such a Ten Hag goalkeeper. I've said about Onana, if I want a shot stopper, is he the right goalkeeper? Does a new manager rate Onana? What does he think about De Ligt? What does he think about Mason Mount? What does he think about Rasmus? What does he do with Anthony? The new manager's job is ridiculously hard. Ridiculously. I've said this for years. When Mourinho comes in, he's got a load of Van Gaal players. When Ollie comes in, he's got Van Gaal and Mourinho players. When Ten Hag comes in, he's got Ollie, Mourinho, and even a couple of Van Gaal players. The next manager comes in, he's got a shitload of Ten Hag players. He's still got 1 or 2 Ollie players as well. The job for the new manager is massive. The next job for the next manager is the hardest job Man United's been. And every time we sack a manager, it becomes even harder, which is why I was so against sacking the manager for so long, because I know what happens back to ground zero with a huge amount of wages, money spent. Where's the 500 million? Look, I said this when Ten Hag came in. How much money does this squad? Great question here by me. How much money would you say Nagelsmann or Amorim or Ancelotti needs to take Man United to compete with Man City? I would go back to what I said 2 years ago and say $1 billion from now, because you can't say to them, oh, you've got to use De Ligt. You've got to use Martinez. You've got to use Mazraoui. You've got to use Agate. You've got to use Ericsson. You've got to use Garnacho. You've got to use Rasmus. You've got to use Rashford. You've got to use Bruno. A new manager comes in and goes, I'll make you great again, but not with those players because they're not mine. So where's the £1 billion coming from to do that? And that's what you've got to get your head around now. Yes, there's the relief. Yes, that's happened. But don't for one fucking minute think Zidane comes in and turns it into a Champions League treble winning side. Don't think you're going to bring Amorim in and he's going to win the league next year. You're asking them to do that with a squad of players that have failed for a manager that bought them. You've got to give the next manager time, and you've got to give them money, and you've got to give them the ability to come in and clear house, which we've never really done. We're bad at selling players. So I would say to United fans now, the Ten Hag era is over. There is a new era now. What we must not do, and I said I'd ramp it up if they got rid of Ten Hag, I'm absolutely content that we're going to move on. But if they think we're going to use Ruud van Nistelrooy because he's cheap and he's Dutch and he knows some of these players and we're just going to tread water for another 3 years with an ex-player, they can go fuck themselves. If they're going to go and get Nagelsmann out of a contract with Germany, yabba dabba do, let's go and let's start building a squad again. And that's what we have to do now. You can't just do what needs to be done and then go, let's tread water. You've done the big thing. You've sacked the manager. Now go and do something extraordinary, inspiring and exciting, and bring a manager in now to get this club back up and running, because Ruud van Nistelrooy is an interim till the summer. Ain't going to do it. There's an opportunity to win the Europa League. That would be my focus now. Yeah, the league's important. Let's climb the league. But go and win the Europa League and qualify for the Champions League. To do that, look at what Villa did with Emery. They brought him in at this time, and although he didn't have a summer transfer window, he had a momentum. He had a time. He had this massive pre-season, effectively, of competitive games to get things working. So if you brought in your manager now, they've got November, December, January, February, March, April, May to work with this set of players. So the time the big summer comes along, you hit it running. If I come in as a Xavi or a Zidane or a Nagelsmann and I'm working with this team until May, I can be saying to Ashworth in February, I don't like this player, I want this player, let's get talking to him now. You wait for your new manager to come in May, he's got to assess the squad on pre-season again, and all the good players are already gone because managers at Chelsea and Newcastle and everyone else know what they want in March. Get the guy in that's going to be the guy ASAP. Do not wait till the summer. Do not do the interim thing.
Some bits from Sam about potential new manager.
Okay, let's go. So some updates coming in. It's all flying in at the moment. He's put it on WhatsApp. Key messages coming out at the moment. This was a difficult and finely balanced decision, but a collective and unanimous one. We wanted to give Eric the opportunity to work within a new sporting structure, but ultimately neither the results nor the performances have been good enough across last season and into this one. We wanted to have continuity at a time of significant change, but we are not seeing the momentum and progress to believe we are on the right path. For the second season in a row, we had a poor start in the league and we have failed to win our first 3 Europa League games from winning positions. Ultimately, there are no excuses for our current performance. We have put everything we can into place to develop and we are not seeing any improvement. Ruud will take charge of the team in the short term whilst we make a permanent appointment. Yabba dabba do! Yabba dabba do. Absolutely. That's the one that's got me. It's a short-term appointment for Ruud van Nistelrooy until we make a permanent one, and it can't be Ruud. Data points, we've had 14 games this season, and we have a goal difference of -3. Look, I don't need to read any of this. We know where we are, and we know we deserve to be where we are. On other stuff from Sam, he's saying that Sam C, who works with United Stand, does a great job. This is on him. Fair play if he's right. I hope he is. He said that Manchester United are going to try their luck and approach Nagelsmann. Unknown what the response will be, but he's well liked among the board, and there are other options as well. I think it's a good idea. I mean, look, that's an exclusive from Sam C, who works with us on the United Stand. He's been told that Man United will try their luck with Nagelsmann. And look, at the end of the day, if you're going to sack Ten Hag and go and get a really, really exciting manager, you have to accept it. This is a results business. This is Manchester United, and that is exciting. But if you're going to sack Ten Hag and go, let's use Ruud till the end of the season, meh. If you're going to sack Ten Hag and say, Gareth, do you fancy a job? And this is what I mean. All eyes on Ineos now. I think justifiably they've made the right choice. I can't argue with it. I don't argue with it. There's you know what? There's an immense sense of relief. A relief that it's over, because it was just... You look at where we've been, even as a community, for the last week. It's horrible. Whatever side of the fence you've been on. And to be in this position now where it's like, it's over... but I always knew this, because I've been here with Jose, I've been here with Ollie in season when you sack a manager. Very quickly, that's over. Like, the whole Ten Hag conversation is over. Whether you were right, whether you were wrong, when you were in, when you were out, whether you're sad, whether you're happy, that's over instantaneously. He's not going to do an interview because he'll be under an NDA. So that's over. There's nothing to say. It's now about what you do over the next few hours and days, and everything now is going to be about what we do next. And there isn't going to be time to analyse the rights or wrongs of where it went wrong with Ten Hag, because it's going to be about the rights or wrongs about what Ineos does next, and it's all eyes on them. We're moving past 60,000 live viewers here. So please smash a like on the video. But more importantly, share it on your socials, because I would like this to be one of those videos that does absolutely massive numbers, because people say it's always about negativity. This is not negative. This is about what's best for Manchester United and where we go from here. I want to go through some of the comments. Marcus says, Mark, that VAR decision and other bad decisions against us is destroying football. I've cancelled. Well, we're going to talk about that on That's Football on our podcast at about 1:30 or maybe 1 o'clock. So that's still going to happen. But obviously, this is big breaking news. Mark, Xavi, Nagelsmann or Zidane, says Ben. Out of those, I'd go Nagelsmann, Zidane, Xavi, but I don't think Zidane would come anywhere near this job, to be honest. Tim Sim says, the vicious cycle continues yet again for us with managers. It's really never going to end unless we finally get this one that is consistent. And Tim, I just want to say this. I never wanted to see another manager sacked, and I don't want to see the next one sacked, because the more you do it, the more difficult the job comes. I think whoever the next Man United manager is permanently has got the hardest job ever, because of how many times we've done this and the accumulation of money and shit that we acquire. But I do think fundamentally, I don't know how many people will say this. I certainly don't expect any of the media to do it or any of the ex-players to do it. Maybe not any other content creator to do it. But there is a massive culpability on the Glazers. There is a massive culpability on certain players who, though they might be quite relieved, they have played a part. Like, whether you're missing chances, whether you're putting in consistent 5 out of 10 performances. I'm not going to name names here, but it's not just the manager that's lost his job. I can't sit here, honestly, for the last 8 months doing player ratings, giving certain players a consistent 5 or 4 out of 10 and say that they haven't contributed to this. They have. They absolutely have. Now, the modern footballer can be quite self-centred, blame-shifting, mercenary, but they have contributed to this. Ultimately, the manager loses their job. That's the way it works. I'm not saying sack a player, but I don't see enough Man United players over the last 8 months putting in consistent average performances, let alone decent. There are many players categorically that have put in below par performances for a very long time. And we are there on Wednesday and on Sunday, and we will see a different player. Now, many people will cheer that player because Player FC exists, but you're a fool because we've been down this road before. Mourinho never should have been sacked. They went and won 7 games in a row as soon as he got sacked. We have players at this football club who switch it on and off. We need to switch them off forever and kick them out of this football club because I'm tired of that. I'm tired of the manager always being the fall guy, whether it's Ollie, whether it's Jose, whether it's Van Gaal, whether it's Ten Hag. I believe that every decision that's been made correctly about those managers, it gets to a point where something has to be done. But it's not all because of them. And time again, managers, Ollie said it at half-time in his last game, and he looked around the dressing room and people didn't fancy it. There are players in that football club who have contributed to this again. And if they just start turning it up now and turning on again, they'll turn it off again. So something fundamentally has to change at this football club. I would love to see a manager come in and just drop 3 or 4 players that have been favourites for 2 or 3 years. Just be like, they're not part of my vision. I don't trust them. I've watched it. Get rid of them. But whether the football club will ever do that, there's a real opportunity here. But do you think this football club's ever going to move away from overpaid players with too much power? I mean, we've literally just given Bruno a massive contract in the summer and we didn't need to do it. And that's on Ineos. So I don't, look, manager needed to go, I accept, but ultimately, are a lot of the problems that lead to the manager going to leave as well? They're still going to be here. I just hope they don't end up with Southgate, says Glazers out. I want neither Southgate, says My Pinky. Everything we can wear the left back, says Jason. Who would be your manager? Says Maxim. I think Nagelsmann for me. We told you a lot in the summer, says Natty. Thank you very much. Can he possibly manage both Germany and United? Says Little on Quality. No. I hope Van Nistelrooy exposes the players when they down tools, says Salim. Feeling like Lego, constantly rebuilding, says JR. We need to make sure next manager develops the youth the same. Yeah, look, on Ten Hag, 2 trophies in 2 years, back to back is good. League form, apart from year 1, wasn't good. Youth development has been absolutely fantastic, and that is why whoever comes in next has to fundamentally be very good at that. I wonder, will the players all of a sudden start playing out of their skin? I'll be disgusted if they do. I think they will, Ewan, and that to me is incredible. I find that incredible, just how up for it they will be on Wednesday. It will be quite nauseating, but, you know, we've been there before. Dan says, this makes me nervous. Who's going to save us? Why are we throwing away the season? Thank you, Ineos, says Malgus. Ryan Govan, thanks for your super chat. Mark, there's plenty of joking with Southgate, but there may be truth in the madness. Is it Southgate or Potter, says Marcus. Please not Southgate, says James. The Eric Ten Hag journey is not over. It's stacked on top of the Van Gaal, Mourinho and Ollie mountain. People say Ten Hag spent 600 million. What do we do with them now, says LJ. Exactly. I think things will only get worse from here, says Captain Dad. We got good players. Finally, when this horrible manager gone, we will get the best out of them, says Super Killer. Sometime in the future, bring him back, says Pijol. I'd like to see how Xavi would get on, Barca style, says Steve. Georgie says it's a sad day. I really wanted him to succeed. We should be careful now. Anana has shown progress, though, in stopping shots. Jose becoming very vocal about United. I just wonder, says Jason. Back to square one. Don't get people celebrating, says Louis. Let me be first to say rude out, says Brian. Wait until the crowd turns on the next one, says someone. Cannot believe the players have sacked another manager, says Mohammed Idris. Horn says, morning, Mark. Even though I'm beyond disappointed that it's come to this yet again, it was ultimately inevitable. I agree. Tim says, hopefully he signs all his terrible signings for Roma or Lyon. Left us in a mess. And Tom says, if Ineos don't call that squad in the summer and just scapegoat another manager, I'll be Ineos out. Fair point. Won't get much change from 17 million at Centre Park, says Rob. And Bart says, I'm very interested to see how the players will play in the upcoming matches. I think we all know what they're going to do, mate. Sad but inevitable, says Slowport Sports News. I hope the players are happy and other managers gone, says Dale. Captain says, here we go again, but why do I feel like the media won't won, though? This is Ineos' clean slate. Nothing from the old football management regime is left. And James Brown wants to know what happens next anyway. Let's have a quick look at just what's going on across the media as well. One thing I did want to check is just very quickly if they've updated Man United next manager odds, because that is something that's going to really kick off.
Southgate's second favourite.
Southgate's second favourite. That's been that for a while, though. Just having a quick look at it. I mean, they don't necessarily get these right, but Van Nistelrooy is, I don't... Amorim's now second favourite. Southgate third favourite. Xabi Hernandez, Thomas Frank. I mean, the Nagelsmann isn't even in the picture there at the moment. So Van Nistelrooy, Amorim and Southgate and Xavi are the top four. Carrick at, Frank 5. I mean, I've got to be honest, Thomas Frank doesn't fill me with any inspiration. I've got to be honest on that one. A good manager, but I think straight away he comes in and after one bad result, people are like, "What? The job's too big for him." That's the problem. Like, that is the problem with the next decision. Are we at a point now where it's... You think about Jose Mourinho when he came to Man United, I think the media and the entire fan base was very, very enthusiastic. Is there a guy you can bring in that doesn't bring toxicity straight away? And that's a bad toxicity. I mean, you look at certain journalists, they are absolutely venom. And I always said when Ten Hag came in, because they wanted Pochettino, those knives were sharpened from the very first summer when he was buying players from the Eredivisie. I think in the fan base, people are just pissed off. So I don't think people will put up with Ruud for very long. And I think if you brought Thomas Frank in and he had a bad couple of results, people would say, "Nah, he's not the guy." The impatience is it's odd, isn't it? Really, because at a time where we've never needed so much patience, the impatience is probably non-existent. So. Glazers out says, imagine we lose most of our results matches and get relegated. I lost support for him after the international breaks to CSR. You just can't support someone so stubborn. We need to shoot for the stars, Nagelsmann or Amorim. If we can't get Nagelsmann, would you have Jose back, says Ben? I don't think you should go back. I like Jose, but I don't think you should go back. We need a manager who respected the fans like Ten Hag too. The small things like end-of-season speeches really builds the respect. Ryle says, Mark, do you think this is a good opportunity for Sancho? No. Why would... Sancho's gone. Like, Chelsea aren't going to finish in the bottom half, so he has to go to Chelsea, doesn't he? And also, he's not even playing for Chelsea at the moment either. These players have nowhere to hide now. They either start performing or be shipped out. We must get new Premier League manager before the winter, says Mario. Nubia says, if we are relegated, I hope the club is sold. I felt that the owner's still the main reasons everything goes wrong for us after Sir Alex Ferguson, says Nubia. Sacked on a bad ref verdict. Not going to celebrate another manager gone, but it was leading to this, says Alan Noonan. Will be interesting to see Ruud first lineup, says Chiri. Well, I mean, look, it's such an open goal for Ruud van Nistelrooy, isn't it, to just go and do the things that the fans want. You put Ahmad on the right, you put Agate in the midfield, and you pick Garnacho or Rashford. We need a no-nonsense manager, a manager who throws players under the bus. If you're tuning in a little bit late, by the way, 63,000 of you watching. Let's see if we can get 10,000 likes. Smash a like on the video. Erik Ten Hag has been sacked, which I think everybody is in agreement that something had to happen. It's happened. You know, it's happened. We deal with it. We move on. There is a sense of relief. The big question now is that we must not snooze on a decision. There has to be leadership. They've shown leadership this morning by doing it very, very quickly. That's a tick. The second tick is to move really quickly on who the next manager is going to be. The worst type of management is somebody leaves and you just go, let's see how we get on. So the IT guy goes and you don't go and get a new IT guy. You just keep turning things on and off when it doesn't work. You need specialism, and lots of companies do that. Somebody leaves and you just go, let's see how we get on. Let's let Will act up or something like that. So I think that United need to move ridiculously quickly and efficiently and show ambition. It's not unsalvageable. Like, it's not unsalvageable. But you know what? There's a lot to be said with Ten Hag is gone and the same regime remains. It's still the same coaches. It's still Rennie Heck. It's still Ruud van Nistelrooy. It's still the players. That is an environment where the players were empowered when Mourinho went. We've removed the bad guy. Ollie's our mate. Let's all work. And that, you know, infection grows. You need to replace Ten Hag with somebody new very quickly who is very powerful. Because if you don't, you allow the players to be like, we've got our own way. We've now got an interim. We're really in charge here. So they've got to go from Ten Hag to somebody else ridiculously quickly and send the message that the manager and the club is being run by the board and not the players. Because the players have got what they want. And if you give an interim the job, the players have got what they want. You've got to show strong leadership. You've got to show excitement. You've got to show inspiration. And we need the guy in ASAP. ASAP. This cannot be allowed to drift. And what I like from the statement from the club is that it's a short-term fix with Van Nistelrooy until the permanent manager comes in. Just got another bit of news here. I'm just having a quick look. Okay. What's this? Yeah, I'm just looking at this actually. Since Sir Alex Ferguson, 2013 David Moyes, 2014 Ryan Giggs caretaker, 2014 Van Gaal, 2016 Mourinho, 2018 Solskjaer, then 2021 Michael Carrick caretaker, 2021 to 2022 Rangnick, 2022 to 24 Ten Hag, and now you've got Van Nistelrooy. So, yeah, a very long list. And but look. What do you want to do? This club is truly fucked now. Another manager in doesn't help us, even if it was Pep or Carlo. We have players that don't care. Look, the dissection of what's gone wrong, the assessment of what needs to change. For me, the medical staff hasn't been mentioned this morning. We haven't had a left back in a year. Why didn't we do something about that in the summer? Who was at fault for that? Will we ever know why we went into a season without a left back? It might not have changed much, but not having a left back is quite important. The signing of Agate and not using him, the use of Rashford on the right and, not having the balls to drop him or Garnacho, the stubbornness, the bad decisions on the pitch, the favouritism, essentially, the football club hasn't changed that much since Jose Mourinho left. I still think that players turn up when they want, switch it off when they want, have too much power. I still think we're massively inconsistent. I don't think there's any professionalism. I don't think there's any accountability. I don't think there's any vision. We're one of the few football clubs over the last 10 years that can't sustain a style of play. Lots of people talk about what's the style of play with Ten Hag, but what was the style of play with Jose? What was the style of play with Ollie? What was the style of play with Van Gaal? Yeah, look, counter-attacking, moments, whatever, but it's not... When I look at a style of play, I'm looking at the way Spurs play with Ange, or the way Brighton play, or the way Villa play, or the way Arsenal play. Like, well, why is it that these players are incapable of consistency? You can't have a style of play if you're not consistent, and we are not consistent. So that is something that absolutely has to change. Now, Erik Ten Hag came into this football club with a style of play, but wasn't able to adopt one. Van Gaal came into this football club with a style of play, and he wasn't able to adopt one. One of the big problems we have is a set of players that are just unsustainably inconsistent. And how do you change that? That is something that Manchester United need to look at. If we are relegated, I hope the club is sold. I don't know why people are talking about relegation. That will not happen. So, Leon says, would you like a manager coming in as soon as possible or just have one ready to go for the next season? ASAP. It's October. You can't... I don't even understand the point of Ruud van Nistelrooy staying till the summer, because it's impossible for the human mind to assess that, because every game you want to win, and then beyond the win, you want to climb the table. And if you want to climb the table, you want a vision, and you want a style of play, and you want something to get behind and believe in. We don't watch football matches as an individual game. We watch it as part of a bigger story. So this is what happened with Solskjaer. He started coming in as an interim till the summer, and then he won enough games that people were feeling good, and they were like, oh, just give him the job. So Van Nistelrooy just can't do the job, because he can't be the guy that's going to be the guy that takes us to the very top. The chances of that happening are next to zero. What could happen is he gets a few good results, and they think he is. So I just can't give him the job anything longer than a couple of weeks. It's got to be a quick appointment. And also, when we sacked Ollie in late November and Mourinho in early December, that to me was still too much of the season left to go with an interim. But what? End of October? Like, you can't go with an interim until May. It's just so much can change. So much can change, and it fucks up the summer as well. You can't give a new manager the job in May because a lot of your targets are gone, and they've got to train. The biggest thing that frustrates me about a new manager is you give them the job in the summer, they can't do anything until pre-season because they've got to assess the players. They can't blindly sell Bruno Fernandes. They've got to look at him and go, okay, I don't think he's the right guy. So if you want a good summer transfer window, your guy needs to be in 2 or 3 months before. So we've got to go and what's the word? We've got to go and poach or get the guy that we want ASAP. And it sounds like that's the plan, and I hope it is. Red Army says that Xavi failed at Barcelona, not the right guy. I'm just going to go through some of your chats as well. What would you do if they got Southgate? Cry. It's hard to have faith, says Brandon, when we've been damage control FC since Sir Alex. Recruiting sucks. Team can't put out. It's just a shambles. Look, if you want a warning, then look at what Ineos have done at Nice. There was no guarantee that they actually knew what they were doing. They've got to prove it. I'm intrigued how Rude sees our front line, says Robert. Well, he has been coaching the front line anyway, mate, so hopefully it will improve. I wonder how many injury-prone or knock players will suddenly be available for many more games now, says Sal. That's a great point. Peg Tarn, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you for joining. Get your badge in. Why do I feel that Rashford might also leave soon, says Glazers out. I don't know about that. Benners says, I agree, Mark, that an elite manager is needed, so it worries me Ineos may choose a yes man and expect a Potter or Southgate to try and get a tune out of this squad. Well, remember, the manager we go for next is unlikely to be a manager of power. Ineos want a manager they can control, which might define what we actually end up going for. The big test with Ruud will be to see if his team selection and tactics are different from Ten Hag. Was this division, or was Ten Hag being stubborn, says Brandon. Chris Morris, thank you very much for your super chat. Dari says, I'm not going to lie, I feel a bit upset, to be honest. I just don't feel this is going to make a difference in the long run. Shaw should look hard in the mirror, Mark, says Matthew. Yeah, well, yeah. Record this show and change the name for the future. We'll be here again in 3 years, says Moyad. I mean, you're right. The cycle does continue. Every 2 and a bit years, we do this. What do you think of Ruben Amorim? Look, I think Amorim's an interesting coach, Oliver, but again, there is an element of risk there. But Man City are looking at him. The interesting thing about Amorim is that Man City are looking at him. So if Man City are looking at him, can you go and get him now? And do that, you know, best in class or Ineos out, says Matthew. I would not mind David returning. I'm sure as much as he loves Fiorentina, he would accept Nagelsmann. Only manager I want. Interesting times, says the Irish Zombie. Hi, Mark. Who do you think are real contenders for the job, and which one would you want, says Daniel. Well, I'd go Nagelsmann, but I quite like the idea of Amorim. I wouldn't mind being shocked if it was somebody really exciting. But I don't think, if I'm being completely honest, it can't be Rude. I don't think Thomas Frank's up to it. I think you've got to go for somebody that the media and the fans go, let's give him a chance. And I think there's too many risks out there where people will go, oh, I'm not sure about him. And we know what happens with that. Bob says, you said you can't sack players. I disagree, as you can stop picking them, which he kept doing. Agate not one game, and Rashford and Bruno bad games, continues to play them. He asked for this sacking. I think he sacked himself, Bob, yeah. I said it after the Brighton game, he's sacking himself. And I was right. I think there's so many bad decisions he's made this season that he didn't need to make. Did he... Look, what did I say in the Villa game before? I said he's sacking himself. He wants to get the sack. People said that was incredible. Am I right? Am I wrong? I'll never know. But I think there was elements of maybe he wanted to go. Maybe he did. I don't know. I think some of the decisions he made at times were incredible. I mean, even Mazraoui as a number 10, it's almost like sack me. I know Jose stuck up for him, but you know, some of his decision making was just weird at the end. I'm just going to say it: the fan base will be toxic regardless, and is part of the problem. We would rather turn on each other than stand with each other, says someone. I thought it was pathetic to have Ten Hag as first manager sacking Marks, as Aldo. And sad day, the players have won again. Some players are on the manager's number 6. I think Ineos were always going to change manager, but still a shame, says Reese. New manager should be Mr. Bean. Comedy must go on. Glazers out, says, imagine we lost most of our matches. I've done that one, haven't I? So have a quick look on on the news that's coming in, seeing if anything new is coming in as well. Let's have a look. I hope, well, look, as I said, I hope that story is true about potentially having a go at Nagelsmann. I don't think he'd take it, you know. Germany, 18 months out from a World Cup. I'm not sure he would, but some people saying that Xavi is not considered to be a contender, and he wants to stay away from football till next May. I don't think they would go for Xavi anyway. I think it's a big risk. Stylistically, I just don't think so. But as I said, to repeat myself, I think they've got to go and make a decision very quickly. Let's have a look what you're saying. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way. Bottom right-hand corner, we are on the road to 2 million, and there's plenty of people tuning in, so make sure you subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner, Erik ten Hag has been sacked. Some would say finally been sacked by Manchester United. I think they gave him enough time. I think the legacy is always hard to assess so soon when a lot of people felt that it was time to do it. And I certainly think that time could be kind. I mean, look, we were all there with Jose when he got the sacked, and that was a hard thing to sort of assess at the time. But time was quite good in relation to Jose afterwards. And I think the reason Jose's legacy stood up was because it was very clear that the players sacked him. So I think with Manchester United, there is that feeling that you're not always... It's a bit like Batman, isn't it? You're the villain that you need now, but you might not be you might be the hero in the future. And I think with Jose Mourinho, that's certainly how it felt, that he was the villain at the time, but he was the villain we needed to see who the real villains were. And it was clearly the club, the Glazers, and some of the players who were the problems there. Just want to have a quick look at, we mentioned this on the morning show, didn't we? Like what's to come for Manchester United now that Erik ten Hag is gone. What about the situation with Manchester United's next few games? Because there probably isn't a better time to become a new manager of Manchester United. Obviously, we've just played West Ham away from home. Our next few Premier League games are, well, we've got Leicester on Wednesday in the Carabao Cup at Old Trafford. Then Chelsea at Old Trafford, which will be atmospherical, of course, because it will be a different regime. Then you've got Paik at home in the Europa League, where, again, you'd expect to win. Then you've got Leicester at home, Ipswich away, Bodo Glimt at home. So, look, realistically, there's some really winnable games. And I think then you've got Everton at home before you go to Arsenal. So there's some really winnable games. I mean, I look at the Premier League, you could win your next 4. And that's dangerous in one way if they stick with Ruud, because suddenly he's won 4 Premier League games in a row. But I look at Chelsea, Leicester, Ipswich, Everton. 3 of them are at home, and they're all really winnable. And if you win, I mean, Chelsea's difficult, but it's still winnable. If Ruud wins 4 of those games, people will be going to give him a contract. But I would have expected Ten Hag to, well, maybe I'm going a bit far there. But this is why I want to see us make a managerial appointment really quickly, because I think that there is a real argument to say that things could look better for Manchester United very quickly because of the games that we've got. And certain players who've underperformed for so long will probably be, licking their lips at those games where they can stat pad. We've got to be very careful about what we do, and we've got to get onto the next vision very quickly. The one thing I do not want to happen is Ruud van Nistelrooy interim him for the next 6 weeks, winning 4 or 5 games with players that we know have let us down in the past. What do you get out of Ruud van Nistelrooy winning 4 of his next 5 and certain players playing really well again? I've seen it. I know you can do that. This has to be longer than that. We've got to be cleverer than that. And they've got to make the right decisions really quickly. They can't sit on it. They certainly can't wait till the summer. Michael Oliver's mission is now completed, says Sparsh. I noticed the club referred to Ten Hag as first-team manager as well. Have loved the show all their time. Thanks, Mark. Terrible abuse from press on Ten Hag. Good luck to him. United forever, says the Attic. Look, on Ten Hag, I hope he gets back into football and proves that he's a good coach, because his CV is not going to look that bad, really. Giles says they referred to Ten Hag as a first-team manager in the statement, but said they will search for a permanent head coach. Any significance? Yes, it'll be a coach. I want them to pick their manager, not fans' choice, says Robert McCormack. I think they will, Robert. I don't think they're going to listen to fans on the next manager. Hi, Mark. This was inevitable. I was always going to happen. I can say I'm not disappointed, but who do we get now? It's sad, says Blick Abrahams. Mark, thoughts on... I don't know who they are. He wanted to leave because he sees the club is dead, says Marco. We all know it'll be Southgate, says Dan. If new manager has no ability to bench players, doesn't matter who it is, says Brian. Inzaghi, says Salim. So let me get this straight. The players can miss and say we go again, but manager has to go since these players can't play consistently for more than 6 months. Remember how much it cost us to sack Ten Hag, says Tom Grant. United will regret doing this, says Claude. Van Nistelrooy is supposed to improve scoring. Immediate improvement needs to be seen for this to make sense, unless we appoint new manager in the next week or so, says Kyle. Which players do you think will be let go after his departure, says Anthony. Well, I'm going to do a video on that at some point. I think there's so much to dissect, isn't there? But, you know, we've reacted to him sacking, but there's two things. There's so many things I would keep in your head. How long are these injuries players going to come back fit? Because I think they'll come back quickly. How many of Ten Hag's signings are actually going to be used in the future? When a new manager comes in, they've got no loyalty to anybody. The new manager could come in and say, Maguire's my starting centre-back. The new manager could come in and say, Casemiro's my holding midfielder. The new manager could come in and say, Xerxes my starting striker. The new manager could come in and say, Bienda's my goalkeeper. Like, this is not sack Ten Hag and then just tweak it. This is sack Ten Hag, back down to ground zero, we start again. That is basically what's going to happen now. So where we go from here is going to be very, very interesting. And that is why I think they've got to move quickly. Because all Van Nistelrooy will do is just utilise the Ten Hag vision and try and make it his own. Bruno Fernandes has said, thanks for everything, boss. I appreciate the trust and the moments we shared together. I wish you all the best. Even knowing the last period hasn't been great from all of us, I hope you fans can keep with you the good things Ten Hag has done for our club. Look, it's a nice message from Bruno Fernandes. It's a shame you've been shit on the pitch for 8 months. Harsh message, but true. What is here we go again? What is a nice message? Ultimately, this is football. Ultimately, it's what you do on the pitch. And ultimately, Bruno, your performances on the last 8 months have been shocking. There has been sporadic moments. There has been sporadic good games. But since Christmas, you've probably averaged a 5 out of 10. Below average. So, yeah, thanks, boss. Well done. We wish you all the best. Try and remember the good moments. The players have contributed to this massively. Underperforming players who get to stay. I wish we could sack players. I really, really do. I think we've sacked so many managers over the years, and they've probably deserved it. But I wish we could sack players. I really do. Because there are so many players that are going to stay at this football club again who've contributed to a sacking of a manager and are as culpable as he is in some ways. And we will have to stick and put up with them. Which is why I know the decision needed to be made, but it's more than the manager that needs kicking out of that football club. I don't think they've made the wrong decision. I just think it's more than the manager that needs to go. So, yeah, that's the captain of Manchester United there. But, Bruno will probably play 9 out of 10 on Wednesday and against Chelsea. Get ready for it. And to me, that is just very, very scary when players can suddenly go from being really underperformers to playing really, really well in such short periods of time. But, that's just the way football works, isn't it? And that's not exclusive to Manchester United. Players always survive, of course. Okay. Well, I'm sure we're going to be live a lot more today. That's just your initial reaction to Ten Hag being sacked. I'm literally back in about 14 minutes. We're going to be talking about Premier League review. We'll be talking about VAR. We'll be talking more about the sacking of Erik Ten Hag. The podcast is 1 o'clock on That's Football. So grab yourself a drink and we'll be back live with you in about 10 minutes on That's Football. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you back on here soon as well.